Yeah. I did notice you popped in a couple minutes early, but I don't. Yeah, I think we can go ahead, start, and don't worry. When you're done, we do have another small session we have planned, and we can move it. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Well, you want me to get started now? I'm absolutely ready to get started. You think?
Hey, that's the attitude. Great. Let's do it. If you can share your screen with us.
Absolutely. There we go. Share screen. Hey, I can do this. Awesome.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is great. So yeah, Susan, I'll be in the chat. I'll be, if there's any questions, I'll ask you maybe at the end, and I'll try to maybe translate to Spanish some of your key points so people can get them. And but don't worry, we have many of our viewers are English speakers too.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I'm going to talk today a little bit about SeeSaw. So SeeSaw is a tool that we use for students to share their learning. A lot of times with SeeSaw, it's more about community and sharing. So in some examples I'm going to show you right now, you'll notice that the little girl has created something. Now I have to tell you a story about my friend Annalise here, because Annalise was a student who didn't talk much. Actually, when I went into her classroom for the first time, both the aide and the teacher in the room said, I'm not sure she's going to record anything for you. She doesn't talk for us. And I was like, let's try. So the students had drawn the picture. You can see her picture about the life cycle of a pumpkin. They had drawn, and then they practiced describing the life cycle of a pumpkin using complete sentences. So our goal with SeeSaw was going to be to take a picture of that, right? I'll tell you all the hows and the buttons in a minute, but I really want to get started by showing this example of a young learner sharing her learning using SeeSaw. Remember, she was not much of a talker. Let's listen to what she had to say. I'm going to play a quick video. Let's see what she says. Oh, is my audio not working? I'm new to this. I'm so sorry. So you can see. Oh.
Yeah, no, don't worry. The audio, it could be that it's going. Are you using headphones, maybe? Okay, because audio, it's usually just it captures it from your microphone, so okay. It's not very good. It's not the system audio, so don't worry about it.
Okay, so what happens is, you can see, I'll play again so you can see her words, the captions, and she says very quietly, "I know how a pumpkin grows. First there's a seed, then a vine, then a flower, then an orange pumpkin." And the part you don't get to hear is in the background, her teacher is going, "Eee!" because her teacher was so excited that she had finally spoke. This is a little girl who didn't talk much. And remember, they said, oh, she's not going to do this. And she was so excited to be able to share her learning using SeeSaw. And the funny thing is that SeeSaw is an amazing tool. And we're going to spend a lot of time talking about what SeeSaw can do. And young learners can do a lot more than oftentimes we give them credit for. So for the next bit of time, I'd love to share with you about this amazing tool, especially designed for young learners, allowing them to create and share, even in this remote learning environment that we found ourselves in. What's nice about this is that they can draw something, take a picture, and then share it with their teacher and their class. So I'd love to give you some time to learn a little bit more about SeeSaw. So I'm Susan. I come from the land of sunshine and rainbows, right? I taught kindergarten for a very long time. And in addition to being a kindergarten teacher and a second grade teacher, I was a technology coach. That means I get to support teachers all the time. I am a SeeSaw ambassador. That means I've had a lot of experience sharing SeeSaw around the world with teachers. And then if you want to hook up with me later on Twitter, you can follow me at Tech Coach Susan. But let's kind of go through what our plan is. I'm going to introduce you to SeeSaw, right? I gave you that first little example of what SeeSaw can do. I'll talk about some of the creative tools that are built into SeeSaw. A lot of tools built in. We'll explore it a little bit as a student. I'll give you a chance if you want. I'll create a SeeSaw classroom where you can create and share. If you'd like to do that on the side, I'll tell you how to get into my SeeSaw classroom if that's something you want to try. And then we'll go. So what is SeeSaw? Again, I'm not going to play the video because we saw there was some of those problems there. It is a creation tool. Students can draw, they can take pictures, they can record their voice, they can share. It's really great for young learners, but the truth is that students of all ages can use SeeSaw. Some of my most frequent users of SeeSaw are my high school language teachers. So my Spanish teacher, my French teacher, they use this SeeSaw a lot because of that ability to capture voice. We can't always do that in Google tools with just a simple click. Sometimes it takes a few different apps to bring voice into some of the Google resources, but SeeSaw allows them to capture video and voice in just a click. It's really appropriate for the youngest learners. Creativity, they can draw, they can share. They have all these different ways to show what they know. So it's a really visual way they can share their voice and they can draw. If you're just getting started with SeeSaw, if this is going to be your very first adventure in SeeSaw, just know that there is a community of people creating and sharing. So you don't have to be a SeeSaw expert from the start. Kind of like the website Teachers Pay Teachers, if you're familiar with that one, where teachers create resources so others can buy them. In SeeSaw, everything is free. So there are thousands and thousands and thousands of activities available to teachers to use with their students right away. So if you are new to SeeSaw, just know that there's going to be so many things you can try on your own. Ready to go. Here we go. How does it work? So students use the tools to capture their learning, just like Annalise, right? Takes your picture, or maybe they draw on the computer. The teachers automatically see it. So the student submits the work to the teacher. And then, of course, families can see it. Now, when we're in the regular classroom, families don't usually have such an easy window right into what the kids are doing. It's all a little bit different now. But even when we get back to normal teaching and learning, when we get back to our own classrooms, this is a way for the families to be able to see what's going on too. So it's a great way to have that homeschool communication, which right now looks a little different than it usually does. But SeeSaw is an amazing tool for sharing learning, especially with our youngest learners. So these are a couple of examples. And, you know, in the first one, a very young child, he's speaking a second language. And he says, you know, 3 crabs plus 2 octopus makes 5 creatures in the sea. So for a student who has more than one language, that was a very rich and beautiful sentence, because even some of my students who only speak one language said 3 plus 2 is 5. But he was able to make this beautiful, elaborate sentence where he said 3 crabs and 2 octopus makes 5 creatures in the sea, right? It's a really great way for them to show their math. So you could see that he was able to drag and drop all those things there. And he could explain his thinking. It makes his thinking visible and lets us hear what he's saying. So lots of examples here of how SeeSaw can be used with math. I think now that kids are at home, we're finding all kinds of creative ways with my own students for them to show their math. Instead of having, you know, the traditional classroom tools, we're using things we find around the house. Maybe it might be their Legos, might be paper clips. So kids can build math models with the things they have in their environment. They can build their math, take a picture of it, ka-chink, right? Take their picture and then have kids share it. So it's a really great way to capture and share pictures and math models, right? They can all create using SeeSaw. There's another example here of how students can build math and then show it. Also in reading. In reading, students can find pieces of text. So for this example, the student was reading a book about penguins. They took a picture of the text, ka-chink, and maybe that's just, you know, sometimes they'll just hold the book up in front of the camera like this and take their photo. Or we can get fancier and they can learn how to take a screenshot, right? So they can either take a picture of their book, bloop, or take a screenshot on the computer. And then the students can draw on the text. They can add emoji. They love emoji, right? Even our youngest learners who are not yet readers can express what they know through emoji. and then they can hit record. They can record what they're saying. And so in the example here, a little girl says, the text tells me that krill are small fish. I like sushi, so I think I would like krill. So the student is able to make that text to self-reflection using SeeSaw. SeeSaw allows them to capture their learning and then, of course, share it to the teacher. The one on the other side is another example where the student was able to take a picture of text, just any book she was reading at home, and then she's allowed to annotate it. It means put text, images to just show, sometimes you'll hear this referred to as a book snap, right? They take their learning and they show it, and then of course they add their thoughts. Young learners can express so much through a few emoji, right? It's a great way for them to express their understanding, even if they're not quite able to spell the words. An emoji tells a lot. So in all those examples, you hear students, they reflect, they use learning vocabulary, they problem solve, they plan their next steps. So a lot of ways that students can show what they know. SeeSaw is free. It works on any device. So you can do it on an Apple device, on an iPad, on an iPhone, right? It works on any kind of computer in the browser. It works on a Chromebook. Even if kids have an Android device or sometimes the little Kindle tablets, SeeSaw works on any of those. It's a free download. When you're in SeeSaw, there's some ways to navigate through. A lot of times you'll have your list of students. Over here on the side is your list of students. And the journal is where most of their work is housed. There's also an area called activities we'll talk about it soon. But so you can see this is an example of something kids had created. And this could be something they could create right at home. Maybe they built some creative product using something, right in their own environment, their home environment. So they can build something and then label it. Now, there's a little bit of fancy work here with the circuitry, but it could just be something creative they built with their own Legos or something that they built with a tool or toy they have at home, and then they're able to go in and label it. We can take advantage of the camera to show everything that they've been learning in their own space. It's really great to be able to get that window into their learning. If you're interested, I'm going to show you a way that you can experience SeeSaw as a student. Now, this is going to be a little bit different. Now, if you are interested in jumping along, I'll model and demo this on another screen in a second. But this is the beauty of us being on the computer right now, is that you do have that ability to join my SeeSaw classroom. So I'm going to switch screens right now, and I'm going to show you the potential of how to use SeeSaw as a student. In a minute, I'm going to give you a chance to log in. Let me give you a little bit of a preview of what that looks like. But I want you to be able to jump into my SeeSaw classroom if you're feeling ready, like you want to try. And also, if you're good at navigating between different windows, you're welcome to jump into my demo classroom in just a minute after I show you a couple things. So we're going to jump in here. Some of you, if you've used SeeSaw before, you might need to sign out of your teacher account. So sometimes if you have a SeeSaw account and I want you to go play in the student side, it can be challenging if you have already signed in as a teacher. So we're just going to show you that if you are already in a SeeSaw account, you'll have to sign out as teacher. Now, some of you might be going in for the very first time and you won't have this problem. It'll just ask you to sign in. And then you're going to be able to sign out of your teacher account if you have one. And then you're going to sign in just like that. In a few minutes, you're going to be able to go to SeeSaw and you'll be able to type in a code. There's a lot of stuff here. You see there's going to be a sign in with Google and email. We're going to keep it really, really simple, and you're just going to be able to put in a text code. So if there are people out there who would like to play along in SeeSaw and just try this tool, in a minute, I'm going to show you a code that will allow you to come in. Now remember, when you get to the SeeSaw website, you're going to just type in the code. Don't worry about signing in with Google today. Don't worry about all of this. When you start with students, it'll be a little bit more complex. You'll want them to sign in with their credentials so they can get in later. But this time, we want to keep it really simple. So in a few minutes, if you want to go just play around in there, I'm going to provide a text code, and you'll put it right in this very box down there. And that's just because we want to try it for the very first time, just as students. We just want to go in and try it, and we'll all be the same student trying it. A couple more examples before I give that there. Let me go ahead and turn the page. Just know that when you get there, you're going to choose I am a student. And then again, we're going to do the code. Now there's a scan code option. We're going to go with the text code. So if you see some pop-ups that come up, like it might ask you, would you like permission for your camera or your microphone? I'm going to see if some of you can jump in there and try that out. So in just a minute, you're going to go to SeeSaw. Remember, you're going to type in the text code, and then you'll be able to jump in and play. Now, it'll be a little bit awkward because this is new, but just know there's going to be some students in there, and they'll be like student 1 and student 2. Because we're doing this remotely, just know that you can be whatever student you want. You'll just add your name as student 1 or student 2. So please feel free to jump in just a minute. I'm about to show you how to get into this SeeSaw classroom. If it's your very first time, it might be fun to just go push the buttons. That's what I say to teachers. The first time, you may want to just go see what it does. You can't break it. It's okay. Just go in and just kind of play with it a little bit. So in a minute, I'm going to send you a secret code to jump into my SeeSaw demo classroom so you can be there. But remember, you might get this pop-up. Make sure you hit allow on the microphone settings. Are you guys ready? So I'm going to show you this. I'm going to take you back to this login window here, how to get here. So the website you're going to want to go, and I'm going to put it right on this page, is going to be seesaw.me. I'm going to go to seesaw.me. This is a brand new link. I'm going to add it right here to this thing. Go ahead. If you want to play along, please go to seesaw.me. Seesaw.me. If you want to try this for the very first time, I'm going to pause for a second. Seesaw.me. Going to give you a second. That way, if there are people who want to play, and I'm going to show you what it's going to look like. When you go to seesaw.me, if you've never used SeeSaw before, it's going to look just like this. If you're new to SeeSaw, this is what you'll see. Now, remember, if you have tried SeeSaw before, this might have taken you to your teacher page, and you'll want to sign out. So seesaw.me will bring you here. And then we're going to come to the top corner, and you can hit log in. So if you're brand new, seesaw.me, log in. Remember, I want to go slow for those of you who are playing along. Seesaw.me, and then log in. Today, you're going to be a student. You're going to choose student. Today, you're going to be a student. I am a student. And that's when it's going to ask you for the code. Are you ready for the code? Remember, don't worry about these here. We're all going to join with a secret code I'm about to give you here. It's going to be, this is the teacher SeeSaw page you're about to see here. When I'm in my teacher side, if I need the code for my class, I can hit the student one here, and it brings up a code for me, and I can get the SeeSaw class code. And right here is the link. Remember, you went to seesaw.me, chose I am a student, and there is the code. I'm going to pause because I want to get people in there. Thank you for those of you who are posting that in. Seesaw.me, I am a student, and go ahead and jump in. Seesaw.me, I am a student, and this is the text code. This will be the easiest way for you. If you're brand new to SeeSaw, I think right now the easiest way is going to be seesaw.me, I am a student. Now the QR code is very useful if your kids have iPads. It's a really great way to do it. Now for us right now, you may want to just use this code, seesaw.me, I am a student, and grab this code. And I'll see a few of you may have jumped in there. I'm going to just keep pausing that. I'll copy that and get it for you. I want to make sure you have it. Remember, seesaw.me, I am a student, and I will put that code right here. We're going to wait because if anyone wants to get in, I want to give you that opportunity. Remember, seesaw.me, and then there'll be a code. Give you just a second. It's over there. And then I'll give you a tour of SeeSaw. Just want to have you to have that opportunity. And thank you for those who are putting that information in the chat so we can access it there. All righty.
Hi, Susan. I'm just saying hi real quick. I'm sorry I wasn't on when you started.
Oh, hello.
But I have my little Peru hat on. I see you have your baseball cap on. I just wanted to let you know there's like a 30-second delay from what you're saying and what people are doing. So we are joining the class, but you might see a delay.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks for that heads up. But just want to make sure people have time. I'm going to go slow because of that. So we'll give a little bit of a time. SeeSaw.me. There you go. Just a couple more minutes. We'll just get everyone connected who wants to get in. I'll show you what to do next once you're connected, but I really want to give you a chance to get in if you want to get in. SeeSaw.me. Alrighty, we'll continue on, and I see a couple of you got in. Now, sometimes you might put in your name, and sometimes in this situation, if you didn't put in your name, that's okay, because you can just be student 1 or student 2 or student 3. Those are like the demonstration students. So I see that Anna Maria made it in, and if your name's not on there, that's absolutely okay. But I'm going to start giving you a quick tour of the tools available in SeeSaw. The first one is going to be that you can take a picture or draw something. I'll model it, and then I'll stop for a minute and give you a chance to play along. So SeeSaw has a bunch of great creative tools, but for me, especially with young learners, the camera is the most creative tool you could have. So I'm going to hit the add here, and I'm going to take a quick picture. I'll use the photo tool, and I can take a picture just like this. If you want to try the camera, that's the first tool that's available. When I'm done with anything with SeeSaw, you'll notice in this corner here, there's a check mark. So if you want to try to take a photo, now this is where it shows me. Remember I said, if your name's not on that, that's okay. You can just be whichever student you'd like to be. Pick a student and then turn it in. I'll give you just a moment or two. Try the camera. If anyone wants to try the camera, it would be great if someone would try the camera. Plus sign. And then try the camera tool. Plus sign, and then try the camera tool. I'll pause. So hopefully you're getting a chance to use the plus sign and try the camera tool. We'll wait just a second. I know sometimes switching between windows can be challenging. Plus sign and try the camera. Kids in this learning environment, they can hold up whatever they want. Maybe it is a book. They could take a picture of themselves with a book. A lot of times our kids might have their favorite stuffed animal or something else that's in their home learning environment that they'd like to share. I really think it's a great opportunity to make some of those connections with kids in home with things that are familiar. Last week we had a Furry Friend Friday at school, and everybody was showing off either their pets or their stuffed animals to continue those homeschool connections. And then we had students, even our really little ones, take a photo, take a picture, and then share some information about it. So they had to make complete sentences. And some students just told one sentence. But as our students go into the grade 2, grade 3, they might be able to tell a complete paragraph to give description about. So this is my dog, Sam. Sam is fluffy. Sam is a golden retriever. So we can continue having them share things from their own home. So maybe we might want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a chance and get anyone who's trying along, go ahead and go to SeeSaw.me. I'll redo those steps just in case you didn't get a chance to. SeeSaw.me would be the website if anyone is playing along. SeeSaw.me. You're going to choose I am a student, and then the code. I'll show the code one more time, and then we'll continue on to the next creative tool. So hopefully some of you are getting a chance to try SeeSaw.me. I am a student, and then you're going to use this code right here. Oh, there's a new one. They change it every so often, and that's a security thing. They don't let you have the same code for too long because they want to make sure it's a nice, secure, safe place to be. So you can use this code, SeeSaw.me. There we go. And I see a couple of you have made it in. So if you've had a chance to make it in, if you want to try the first tool being the camera tool, I just click add. Oh, no, there we go. I'm going to go add, post, and there's my photo tool. Take my picture. And remember, everything is going to use that check mark when you're done. Now, I'm going to do the next tool. For those of you who are coming along, I'm going to show the drawing tool. The drawing tool has a lot of potential with our young learners because it's a way for them to write their thoughts or draw their pictures in a way that is real easy for them. You see there's some writing implements across the bottom, and there's some additional tools up the side. So maybe we're going to draw today a picture, and it lets them change the size of it, and maybe we're going to draw ourselves a little ladybug. Now, I'm doing this on a Chromebook, and so it's a little bit challenging sometimes to learn how to use the mouse, but I can leave my little dots here of my ladybug. If your kids have a touchscreen device like a Kindle Fire or an iPad, they are much, it's a lot easier for them to do this, right? But it's just a fun little way for them to show their learning. So once we've used the drawing tools, we can go further and I can type in, maybe I could label it. This is the head. You know, we're talking about the parts of an insect. I could say this is the head, and I can say this is the antenna. And I can label the different parts of an insect. So whatever the kids are showing, remember, they could take a picture or they could draw something. So I'm going to pause again. I'm going to hit the check mark. When you're done, you always want to hit that check mark that tells us that we're going to turn it into the teacher. Oh, see some more friends have made it in. I'm going to be student 3 this time. So if you have your name, awesome, but that's okay. You can just be any of these students, and I'll go ahead and turn it in. So hopefully, oh, wow, I see some people have created. I'm going to pause and show you. Remember, there's my 2 posts, but as the teacher, I have a new button here. It tells me that I have some unapproved posts. So I'm going to pull those down for a second, and I'm just going to show you my presentation screen again really quick. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my SeeSaw, and I want to go in another window momentarily. Let's see here. Here we go. I'm going to put this right back up here now. I have some unapproved posts. When students post to SeeSaw, their work is previewed first. That means the teacher sees it before anyone else sees it. So what I see is that someone, oh, Anna Maria drew a tree. She made a tree. I also see that someone took some pictures. Oh, we've got some pictures of some little Lego guys. How fun. Someone typed a note for us. Very cool. Oh, Dominique there, she used a picture, a photo of something in her environment. Remember, we said that could be a pet. Very cool. And she also drew on it. Oh, we got a photo of Anna Maria in her home there. Oh, someone showed us their mug. Looks like Minnie Mouse. Very fun. And then Dominique's waving hello. So it's a great way for them just to snap a picture or draw a picture to show their learning. Now, remember, I'm in approval mode, which means, yep.
I'm sorry. Can I just ask a couple questions? We have some questions in the chat, and then I clearly also need to know how to learn this tool. I don't know this tool very well. People are asking, how can they change their name?
So in this situation, I set it up in a way that was easiest to just go in and grab a generic one. If you had signed in with Google, if people signed in with Google, it grabbed their name. But because we don't know who has a Google account, who doesn't account in this anonymous kind of situation, I told them just go ahead and grab student 1, student 2, student 3. The people who did put in their name probably used the sign in with Google button, which is a great way to do it when you have a known audience. But because of this situation, just you can go ahead and be student 1, student 2, 3. If you're comfortable with the technology and you know how to sign in with Google, but it's hard to explain that from where we are right now. So just
No, that's perfect. And I think that will help everybody who's asking how to change that, and then also know how to use it for schools that already have Google accounts.
Right. So if your learners are on Chromebooks that have Google accounts, you're going to want to have them sign in with Google, right? I didn't ask you to do that because we are all on different kinds of devices with different situations.
Right. Okay.
But for those of you, and we'll there's a couple slides later, we'll talk a little bit about connecting your students once we get done playing here. But yeah, there's different ways you can log in. And sometimes we log in this kind of anonymous way, and that's the fastest way to do it. But with your learners, especially learners at home, we can give them a code, or we can have them do that sign in with Google. That's the best way because it automatically collects their name. So
okay, perfect. Thank you.
So over here on the side, I have some things, and I'm going to approve those. So as the teacher, remember, it comes to me first, and I can approve it. And the best part about once I approve it, so these are all approve, approve, approve. I can go through and approve. We're just being silly right now. Approve. But now if I go to my class journal, and you guys who are playing along can do this too, when I click on my class journal, I can see my peers' work too. So it's a way for me to not just turn it into the teacher, but now I have an audience that goes beyond the teacher. That means my teacher can see my work, but my friends can see it too. Even better, I can interact with my peers because over here I can like Dominique's post there. Or if I want, I can leave her a comment. I could say hello, keeping it simple, and post that. Now, your really young learners may not yet know how to type hello. So a very wonderful feature of SeeSaw is I could type hello, but notice right here, what is that? Maybe your young learners don't yet know how to type, but they could certainly leave a little message. I hit record. I really like your notebook, Dominique. That is a great photo. So now I'm able to comment to my friends. I'll hit my check mark, always turns it in. And now Dominique, once that's approved by the teacher, she can get feedback from her friends as well. Just like the original post, all of the feedback comes to the teacher first before it goes back to the other students. So it's really great for those young learners because they're able to do that. I know some of you want to connect, so I'll repost the connection information in just a moment. But I'm going to give you your next task. I'm going to give you a little thing to play with. I'm going to show you one more thing to play with before we continue on. Remember, sometimes it's fun just to go ahead and go poke at all the buttons. First, I was silly, right? Take a picture, but this time you have a challenge. Can you, if you're in the SeeSaw classroom, build a model that shows that 6 and 2 make 8? How could I do that? I'd like you to build a model that shows that 6 and 2 makes 8. I'm going to go to my plus sign and I'm going to post something. I'm going to choose drawing again because I want to demo a few other tools before I stop talking and let you play a little bit. I'm going to click here and I could just draw the numbers, right? I could say 6 and 2, but wait, could I have a little bit more fun with this? I bet there's some other tools that can show. When I come over here to the dot, 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 we know that a lot of times if we click on dot, 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 there's some extra things that happen. I see that there are some shapes. So remember, I went dot, 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 shapes. What? So I can now click on these and build my model. I want 6 stars and 2 hearts. So now I have my 2 hearts, and I've built a model that shows that 6 and 2 make 8. 6 and 2 make 8. So there's some of these interactive tools embedded. I can build a model that shows that. But even better is I can have the kids record and describe that. When I come over here to the microphone, what's this? It's going to record me. 3, 2, 1. I built a model to show that 6 and 2 make 8. When I'm done, just like everything else in SeeSaw, I'll hit the check mark, bloop, and then I'll hit that check mark one more time to turn it in. Now, I'm not signed in completely, so I'm going to just grab student 3 here and turn it in. Now, if you have had a chance to play with SeeSaw already, awesome. Go ahead, and if you're in there, Will you build a math model for us as well? I'm going to go back for anyone who's following along and remind you how to get into the SeeSaw classroom. So if you're just getting started and you want to see the SeeSaw classroom, I'm going to repeat the information on how to get in. Now, some of you might be in there, and I hope you're building some math models for us. Can you build some math models if you're already in the SeeSaw classroom? But I'm going to go back and show the login information for the people who are in the chat and maybe would like to join us. So I'm going to go ahead and show that again. Remember, this is for those of you who are not yet in our SeeSaw classroom. The first thing you'll do is go to seesaw.me. Now, if you're building your math models, I hope you're building some fun things for us to show. Can't wait to see what you guys are creating. But let's start at seesaw.me. Seesaw.me. And if you just got to seesaw.me, and remember, if you're new, it'll look like this. Now, some of you are over there building those math models. I can't wait to see them. But for those of you who are just catching up, now I'll choose log in, seesaw.me, log in, I am a student. Seesaw.me, log in, I am a student. Now, you could do some of this ways to sign in, like you could sign in with your Google account, but let's go ahead and just go with a text code. In a moment, I'm going to show you a text code. So remember, seesaw.me, log in, I am a student, and get ready for that text code, okay? Just want to get everyone involved who wants to be involved. I'll give you a text code in just a moment. Here we go. Seesaw.me, log in, and I'm going to add students now here. So this is the code. If you're just joining in, here's the code right here, seesaw.me, and you can type in this code to join us. Hopefully some of you are in there playing with the buttons, pushing buttons, trying to build those math models for us. But for those of you who are just joining in, go ahead and do that there. All righty. I'm going to refresh my teacher classroom now and see if anyone has made some math models. Oh, I'm excited. Again, on my teacher screen, I see that it has 6 unapproved posts. That means some of my students have submitted work to me. And the responsible thing to do as a teacher is for me to take a look at that, but I'm going to bring it into another window because just like I wouldn't do this in front of the class, even remote learning, I'm going to preview it off screen because that's the responsible choice to make. So I'm going to pull that off the screen real quick and just do a quick little preview because we want to know, oh, how fun. Here we go. Awesome. Here I go. I'll bring this on back over. Here we go. So now I'm previewing what's going on. It looks like someone showed me that 5 and 1 make 6. So someone used the math tools to build a model to show that 5 and 1 make 6. Very cool. And here I can have that 6 plus 2 is 8. So someone used some of those tools to build a math model. Thank you, Federico. And Anna Maria left a little comment. She left some feedback for peers. Someone left more feedback for peers. Remember, everything that gets submitted comes to the teacher first. Oh, and someone found a photo and they shared it here. Someone says, interesting, very cool. So I can approve those. Remember, as teacher, when I approve them, it goes to the rest of the class. So we started with a silly photograph, and then we went to a little bit more math type things. But we know that SeeSaw is a way for us to capture our learning and share it to the class. There's some great little examples. I'm going to go back to the presentation in just a minute, but if you have questions to drop in the chat, I'm sure Dominique could help us out over there. And if anyone, Dominique, if there's anyone else that has some questions, I'll take those there. But I'll go back to the presentation momentarily to talk about how to get students signed up and stuff. But
yeah, Susan, someone is asking, do you know, can SeeSaw be used in Spanish? Can you change the language, or is it only in English right now? And if not, we can investigate.
I will definitely look into that because I do not know that answer. I know that when it comes to the parent communication, like if you are using this and I want to send a message that If there's something that has been typed out, it does communicate the message in Spanish or many other languages for parents, but I don't know about making the buttons in that other languages. That's a question we can definitely look into.
Okay. Another person mentioned that they like to use this tool actually with their English language learners because it helps them develop some of the skills in the English language. So
absolutely, yeah. So we use it a lot for English language development here, in the other way where we have them, our students whose first language isn't English, when their first language is Spanish or other languages, and we're trying to develop their English skills, we will use this. I'm going to show the activity library next, and the activity library is where there's a lot of such activities, but I just want to demonstrate the activity library next. And so I'll show some ELD activities specifically designed for developing language with our young learners. So
perfect. And then I just wanted to ask, Federico, are you there? Can I just ask you, are we okay for time right now too?
Yes, we're okay. We're okay for time, Dominique. No worries. And I think that it actually, well, we do have a smaller session plan, but it's really not something very big. So I think we can use some of this time to look into SeeSaw. I personally had never used it. I had heard many good things about it, and I think it's really great. So yeah, I'm happy working on SeeSaw.
So for about 5 more minutes or longer? About 5 minutes or 15?
I think, yeah, we can go for 15 minutes. No worries.
Okay, I just want to make sure I know. There we go.
Yeah, no, Federico and I are learning a lot. So this is
awesome.
Thank you, Susan.
All right. So 2 more things I want to cover. The first one is the SeeSaw activity library. I mentioned earlier that there are a lot of pre-made activities. Right now, you have been creating just from scratch, right? We're just from the creative tools, taking a picture, drawing things. But there's a whole nother area here called the activity library. And in the activity library, I can make pre-made assignments ready to go. In this example here, you can see that there's an activity, and students, when they add their response, they can go in and it asks them a question. I have some instructions here, and it says, use the drawing tools to tell which one doesn't belong and why. And so it will have some different ways for them to choose one there. Where did I get activities like that? Well, when I go to the activity library, I mentioned that place where people are just sharing their resources. Here we have thousands and thousands and thousands of activities ready to go. It is activities that other teachers from around the world have created. For example, we talked about language development. So I'm going to type in language development. When I search for these, you can see it comes up with a variety of images. So these are all activities that have been submitted to the activity library. And what it asks the students to do is to look at the photograph, think about what they see there, like who is there, what are they doing, what are some words to describe what's going on, and then we ask them to record a complete sentence to describe the picture. So with our young learners learning to use language, whatever direction their language learning is happening in, they can use photographs to describe it and make sentences. So I can pre-make an activity like this. This is one I happen to create myself, but back over in that community library, you'll see there are thousands of them. So let's just say we're working on a skill like fractions. So I search for something in fractions. Oh my word, look at all of these pre-made, ready-to-go activities that I could assign to my learners. Fractions, and I can scroll, and there are thousands of these kinds of activities that I could use. Now, if I see an activity that goes exactly with what we're learning in class, oh, this fraction pizza, that sounds awesome. If I see one I like, I can heart it, bloop, right? And I can open it up. This allows me to get a further detail. What's going on here? So it wants me to, okay, looking around, trying to make sure that it's appropriate for my kids, because just because you find it online doesn't mean it really matches with what you're trying to teach. But I can see that someone has created this. They've shared it to the activity library. And right now I have an assign button. Once you've set up your SeeSaw class, which is what we'll talk about next, once you have your SeeSaw class set up, I can hit assign. It gives me some instructions. Now, sometimes I can even have voice recording of the instructions here. So for your young learners who aren't yet readers, you have the ability to speak the instructions too, so they can listen to you explaining what to do. And I'm going to hit assign, and it asks which classroom I want to assign it to. Most of you will probably only have one class you set up. And now, for those of you who did get a chance to go into the SeeSaw classroom, if you click over here on the activity light bulb, you have some pre-made work you can do. For example, you could go play with the fraction pizza. So again, that activity library is a place where I can find pre-made activities, thousands of them, of lots and lots of resources that just ready to go, whether it's learning spelling rules, whether it's developing language, math skills, lots of resources ready to go. Some really simple ones too. I'm going to go to some of my favorite activities in the activity library. With young learners just getting started, you want to keep it really simple. So if I have my kindergartners or grade ones, I just want to talk about the letter T. Really simple. You can see that teachers have come in and they have created different letter activities. Now I don't see a letter T, but I see the letter A, so I'll go ahead and grab that one. And what it asks them to do is to trace, so they get to practice with this skill. It asks them to trace and circle all of the letter A's. Really simple, easy for our young learners to get started. So we want to give them just a chance to play with the tools and learn how to push the buttons. And this is letter recognition, which is something we do with the young learners. So we can have them practice these activities. And if you see one, remember I was looking for the letter T, and Miss King here, I noticed she's a SeeSaw author. And I'm like, I really like this. She made this letter A one. I wonder if this creator has more resources that she's created. So if I click on the creator, it'll take me to their library. And sure enough, this teacher has been creating and sharing so many different similar resources. Let's see. Oh, there's numbers. Wow. Oh, and I bet I could, oh, there's my letter T. So the creators in the activity library, if you find an activity you like, you can follow them and see what else they have created. So many ready to go resources. Remember, if I want to, oh, number 18, I want to practice this, I can heart it. That puts it in my library. Or I can assign it to my learners. So I would hit assign, select my class, and do it. Oh my goodness, my kiddos can now click on the light bulb. Here's the activity. They can complete it. It'll even show me who has and has not yet completed the work. So much potential for pre-made, ready-to-go activities. Could be very simple, take a picture, or it could be something that we make here. Now, if you are in as a student, you won't be able to see the activity library because that's a teacher feature, right? So those of you who did go into the student side, you're probably not seeing some of this yet. So we won't see that yet. I'm going to go back to my teacher slides now, because what I'd like to do, and I know some of you have questions about, how do I get started? Where do I even begin? So I'm going to go back over to the presentation and give you a little bit of that kind of information. Where do I even begin? Awesome. Oh, I want to show you one more friend made a math model. Look at that fun math model that someone made. Very cool. Very, very, very cool. So let's go back to the slides here. I want to talk about some of the nuts and bolts of this. We talked about the camera tool. We talked about the drawing tools. This is all stuff that you got to find. Maybe I might ask them to take a picture of something, especially now that we're in home learning. I may ask them to take a picture of something from their home environment. So maybe I'll ask them to do that there. Additional things. Remember, I had you guys use that opportunity to just choose student number. When you're creating this class for your own, you may actually put in their names, or if they have Chromebooks, you can have them sign in with Google. As a teacher, I can go in ahead of time and put in names. Now, in this example, someone just did numbers, much like I did, but you can choose numbers or you can put in names. Lots of fun stuff. So, ooh, you guys did that. We checked in from the class. There's some different classroom ideas. Remember, kids can take pictures. These could be things that they're building at home. Maybe they're building blocks at home. Maybe they're doing different things at home. They're able to take those pictures of it and share. Students can document their learning with the camera or by drawing on the activities. You can add your voice. I mentioned how you can add your voice. So maybe the student drew this on paper. See how that student drew it on paper, but because they took a photo, bloop, bloop, and then recorded, they could add their voice to that tool and then just read some words. So I'm going to continue on now, and I'm going to escape out of here because I want to show you some of the teacher setup side. Here we go. Activity library. Create your class. Here we go. This is how we will create a class. When you're first going in, I had you go in as a student, but when you go in later to get started, you would go in as a teacher. You would say, I am a teacher, and we would create the class, and that would allow them to post to their journals. So I want to make sure some things about when I'm getting ready to start my class. I want to be very sure that I don't give out that code. Remember, I gave out a code temporary and it reset itself because we want to be safe about that. So keep your class code secure is an important thing to know so that we can't have other people joining the classroom. Know that when you're ready to get started on this, the help.seesaw.me is very, 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 very useful. There are so many short little tutorials about all the steps there. And of course, they have a lot of professional development, and their YouTube channel. Oh, their YouTube channel is so useful because sometimes I don't have time to watch an hour-long webinar, but I can just find that 2-minute video about how to add students to my class. So if you're going through and you really want to know more about SeeSaw, there are a lot of great resources on Facebook, on Instagram, on SeeSaw. So I want to model that last step for you real quick and just show you that in the teacher classroom, what it's going to look like for you the very first time. I'm getting started. I'm brand new to SeeSaw. What is that? Oh, did someone find it in Spanish? I'm so excited. Dominique, did we determine that?
I just found a help page for people in Spanish.
Oh,
I
okay.
haven't yet determined if the resources and all of that is in Spanish, but there's a help page for parents to get kids on in Spanish. So Federico and I will keep looking for it.
Okay. So I'm going to go in now and show you how to create your first class if you are brand new. Remember, I'm brand new, so I'm going to choose I'm a teacher this time. And if you have the opportunity to sign in with Google, I choose that because that's one less username and password to remember. I choose sign in with Google because that makes it a little bit easier for me later on down the road. I don't have to remember, it just automatically connects. Now, I am in a classroom, but I'm going to go ahead and create a classroom here because going through the setup of your classroom is an important step. I see here that I can name my class, but it's also important to know, what does this say? If I am already using Google Classroom, I can import my learners from Google Classroom. So that's a really handy feature. I'm going to go ahead and just put this, name my class. And this is some of the important settings that you may want to know. I've created my class, but now what? I need to get students connected. There's a few different ways to do that. It asks me when I do the plus sign in students down here at the bottom, add students, plus students. It's going to say, are your kids logging with Google? Yes or no? That's going to be an important distinction there. Do you want them to use an email address or do you want them to use a code? Today we used a code. If your kids are on Chromebooks, the email address will matter. So I can go ahead and choose email address if I have that choice, and students would log in with their Google accounts. Gives me a different kind of code. So depending on what devices you're on, you may choose to have a code or you may choose to have them sign in with Google. And the help files at SeeSaw will tell you what's the right situation. At home, the home learning code would be really useful too. The home learning code is another feature they're using right there so that students can easily access their SeeSaw classroom. Some important settings to know that I have. I can name my classroom. I can choose my grade level. Now the grade level will help me find activities in my activity library appropriate to my grade. I can add co-teachers. So maybe if you're sharing this with someone, you can have a co-teacher so 2 people can assign work. That student sign-in mode I mentioned earlier, maybe we can have them sign in with Google or a code. I can add students. And these are a whole set of permissions. Do I want them to be able to see each other's work? Do I want to approve the items first? Do I want to enable student item editing? Do I want them to be able to go back and fix their work? All of these settings are available and more. So we can get our students connected and then we can have them create and share their learning. Oh my goodness. You ready to try your first SeeSaw classroom? Your learners would really enjoy being able to create, share, document their work, even if, like I said, they're documenting the paper that you had them complete, a blank piece of paper they drew, or if they're creating and sharing online. I love that we can capture their learning and make it visible right here in SeeSaw. Alrighty. I'll see if you have any questions. You can drop them down in the chat there. I'll take questions. If anyone has questions, I'll take them down in the chat. And I'm sure that Dominique, you guys can help me out with that as well. Tiana's, yep, yeah, there.
Yeah, we're asking to see if they have any questions. I think people are just kind of exploring the tool. I do know that some of the schools that we've been working with in Latin America are using SeeSaw, whereas others, this is brand new. Like, I personally haven't used it with a group of students before, so this is great. We'll see if any questions come through.
So much potential because every subject area, and it just photographs or drawings. But then when we look at the activity library and how much pre-made content is there as well, so many great resources.
Yeah, that part I loved, and I didn't know that they had all that. So I'm definitely going to take some time, maybe later today if I have a chance, to look through some of those and see how I can use those.
I tell teachers, make sure that you do take the time to look at the activities and evaluate. Is this high quality? Because sometimes there's things in there that a little busy work, right? But right now, we are all in this new learning environment, and anything that is engaging and fun for our kids, if we can support our learning goals and engage our students, that is winning, right?
Absolutely. We have somebody asking, Luce is asking, she said she just arrived. Can you use SeeSaw with Google Classroom?
So what you can do is that you can use your Google Classroom information, like your roster, and you can import your Google Classroom into SeeSaw. Now, there's no connection beyond that, but if I want a quick way to bring my students over to SeeSaw, I can use my Google Classroom roster.
Right. Well, they're two different platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I think this is great. And I think I'm going to go ahead and invite Fede back into the chat. He's stuck around the whole time. And we
actually, one quick question that somebody just asked, and actually somebody actually answered it. But they're asking how, like, if you use integrate it to Google Classroom, or do you just use it as its own platform? From what I'm feeling, it looks more like it's just SeeSaw, since you don't want little kids to go from platform to platform.
Right. So the integration that exists allows them to get your classroom roster. So you can get your classroom roster. So it'll pull that, but they don't really work together beyond that. A lot of my teachers, if they're preparing their day in Google Classroom, they'll say, visit SeeSaw to complete this activity, but they don't necessarily talk to each other like some do. So they are two separate platforms, but you can integrate it in that you can bring in your Google Classroom roster to populate your classroom.
Okay, great.
No, that's great. Thank you, Susan. This was so informative. I know Fede and I learned a lot. And I know other people in the chat did as well. And we have a lot of teachers, just so you're aware, in Latin America. The last 2 weeks were our spring break.
Mm-hmm.
We were all at home, but it was spring break. And so teachers just went back to the classroom this week. And so we're finding they're watching the recordings afterwards rather than being with us live today. But thank you so much.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and invite Patty.
I had one more question for Susan. Just maybe, let's say, would you, how young would you say would be, at least how little should a kid be using SeeSaw? Maybe as of what age would you say, okay, from here on, what would be your suggestion in that case?
So even in some preschool classes, age 3, age 4, they already know how to pick up a phone and take a picture of something, right? Some of them have that idea. So let's just say that, and then even the parents or the teacher could also take that photo. So right now it would be parents, right? So maybe the student built a pattern using their blocks, right? They built something cool with their Legos, right? They built something. Yeah. They want to share it with their class. Even a 3-year-old could probably take a photo, bloop, right? And share it. But that would be, of course, very guided by the adults. In my preschool, they use the iPads, and the kids are always walking around taking a picture of the things they're building. So it merges the analog and the digital. It really is something that they built or drew or created, but then the technology is just used to capture it. So.
Okay. No, I was thinking about that. I think that in terms of having parents guide kids, it's a good way of, sharing that responsibility of learning how to post. I think it's a good place where you can learn, like, maybe if they post something that shouldn't be posted, the teacher will know before anybody else. So it's a good way to teach, let's say, something related to digital citizenship, and the way that, what we post online will be there forever. Well, at least here, this is like a little practice area for them to start learning about all those.
It is absolutely a safe way to get started teaching and modeling digital citizenship, especially when you start letting them comment to each other, because I don't know about you, but I have plenty of friends on the internet who don't know how to be nice, right? What a great way to practice using kind words and giving positive feedback to each other in this nice, safe, contained environment. So yes, getting them how to share that what you create matters, that you always want to try your best, all of those layers of digital citizenship. Creating and sharing and having an audience. I love the audience.
Yeah. Great. No, thank you very much, Susan. I thought it was great. This was my first time using SeeSaw, but I can now see myself using it more.
This is my first time using StreamYard, so I can see myself using this tool more too.
Yeah, well, maybe you'll join us later in another session, and then we could keep learning from you. That would be great.
Absolutely. So great to see you all.
Thanks, Susan. Y veo que ya tenemos aquí Patty y Gabriel. ¿Los invitamos?
Sí, claro. Bueno, Gabriel, a ver, sí.
Okay.
Listos. Uy, ¿cómo están, Patty, Gabriel? ¿Cómo están?
Hola a todos, ¿cómo están? Nosotros por acá todos bien.
Muy bien.
Qué bien. Sí,
hola, muy bien, por acá en Puebla.
Qué bien, Gabriel, ¿no? Y ahorita Gabriel es nuestro invitado estrella.
Qué gusto, Gabrielito, verte por aquí.
Aquí estamos listísimos.
Sí, no, pero
igual, no sé si... yo ya que me invitaron, muchas gracias por invitarme.
Excelente, y además nadie mejor que tú para hablar sobre Chromebooks, nadie.
Sí, eso estábamos hablando esta mañana.
Muchas gracias.
Un gusto.
Muchas gracias.
Yo hasta revelé que
pues
lo
aquí estoy
editándote unos videos que hacías, estuve aprendiendo.
No, pues ustedes me van poniendo el ritmo y yo los voy siguiendo. Perdón, pues estamos aquí en una bodega que creo que no sé si les puedo mostrar, pero estamos registrando miles de dispositivos en una universidad de la ciudad de Puebla. Entonces, pues estamos...
Ya.
¡Qué maravilla!
Está mandado a ser el experto de Chromebooks rodeado de Chromebooks.
Me hubiera metido ahí.
No, Gabriel, si quieres, vamos a poner el video y ahorita ya tú nos empiezas aquí a dar todo. En parte, una de las cosas que hemos muchas veces en las sesiones hablamos y decimos, bueno, compártanle a su administrador que le gustaría esto. Entonces, lo que pensábamos es que sería bueno que los profes supieran cuál es el alcance, de pronto cuando ellos quieran hablar con un administrador, pues que sepan, mira, me interesa esto, que nos hagan esas preguntas y dejarles claro qué se puede pedir, qué no, o que quede claridad en cómo funciona todo eso, porque uno acá siempre dice, y pídale al administrador, y pídale, pero...
Exacto. Así es.
Sí. Muy bien, sí, con todo gusto.
Dale, voy a poner el video. Dale, pues,
arranca el video. Ritmo, yo lo sigo. Ajá.
Listo, voy a poner el video.